For some time, I wanted to make a mini series of videos that talk about dive bars and how much you can truly learn from them. I'm not suggesting that dive bars are for everyone because they're not. You need to have the personality for them. So if you don't like dive bars at all and decide to watch these videos, maybe you can have a better understanding of them if nothing else. If you're neutral and curious, maybe you'll learn something from this and maybe dives wind up being for you. And if, like me, dive bars are your favorite kind of drinking venue, then you'll know most of this, but hopefully still enjoy it and maybe get a little extra out of it. My goal with this first video is to give you an overview and flavor of what I want to cover in general. So, reason one, it's not about the alcohol. If you're a regular in a dive bar, you'll realize the decision to spend your time there isn't about the alcohol. The booze is secondary. Now, I'm not going to say that just because you can go to a liquor store and drink at home. Yes, everybody knows that. And by the way, that would apply to any bar, lounge, or club and would have absolutely nothing to do with dive bars specifically. I actually take this kind of seriously because I take sociology and the human condition very seriously. And when taken the right way and in the right perspective, a dive bar is probably the best singular invention to learn about people and the world. Because they have what I think are the most important elements to anyone: honesty, genuineness, and sincerity. Even though dive bars have their own shenanigans, and believe me, sometimes the shenanigans can get quite odd in a dive bar, they're at least more mature and more understood in their own way. People simply understand each other more. Customers go to dive bars to hang out and be genuinely comfortable. They had to deal with fakeness all day at work and maybe other parts of their lives, and now they want a little slice of the real world. As a customer, you go to the dive bar for the socialization because it's almost an extension of your living room, and it can be literally. Other bars also have regulars, sure, but it's not nearly at the same level of a dive bar. A dive bar has an established, steady audience, and as a bar regular, every time you walk into your favorite bar, you're going to know about 50% of the customers in there. If you're a bar regular during the day shift, you'll probably know 80 to 90% of the customers in there. Ask any owner of a dive bar, and if they're honest, they'll tell you the foundation of success revolves all around the regulars. This is not necessarily the case with other types of bars, lounges, or clubs. Those venues need customers. A dive bar needs regulars. It's a unique trait, and this is why regulars generally have a little bit of power in a dive bar as long as you don't take it too far and abuse it. I'll expand on that in another video in this series when I talk about the various hierarchies that can happen in a bar. And the bartenders who actually work in dive bars really need to be a slightly different caliber. Let me try to explain this a little bit. Some dive bars have male and female bartenders, but just take, for example, a dive bar that only has female bartenders. Now, let's just be real about this up front. If a bar only hires female bartenders, part of the reason they're there is for their looks, yes, but looks aren't nearly enough. They're not. If you think a female bartender can be successful in a dive bar with just looks, a nice smile, and pouring drinks, you can't be more wrong. A female bartender in, for example, a lounge or a club might be able to get away with that because, I'm sorry, there's a lot of fakeness in those places. You can't get away with that in a dive bar. Now, there are lots of pretty young women, whatever that means, who either quickly quit once they start a dive bar or they, get fired somewhat soon for some reason because it's really not either for them. Or I've met bartenders who have been very short-lived and they lost their job because they simply didn't understand the culture. Now, there's some nuance here to capture. A female bartender in a dive bar also needs to be more mature. Now, maturity doesn't mean age. You can be 22 years old and really do a great job at being a successful bartender in a dive. But they also need to have some grit to them. And they need to understand how to entertain their customers, again, their regulars. Let me explain what I mean when I say entertain. I mean this in a very normal way. When I say entertain, I simply mean they know how to engage in conversation with their customers in a way that goes a bit further than simple small talk, but also doesn't get too personal. They know how to be comfortable with conversations that fall somewhere in the middle. Yes, there's this interesting middle, and they sort of know how to detect that and sort of navigate and stay within that field. Female bartenders in dives also probably need to work a little harder than other bartenders, quite frankly, because as a man, I'll just admit this, to an extent, there probably is some degree of babysitting male customers. And that's why, on a personal note, I try not to make a bartender feel the need to constantly attend to me, and why, in general, I try to tip bartenders in dives 30% instead of 20. I know some people don't even tip that, but this video isn't about cheap customers. So I hope this first one made sense for you, sort of as an intro. In future videos in this series, I'll be getting more specific on things such as how a dive bar can teach you about yourself, teach you about others, understanding the unwritten rules and codes of dive bars, as I said quickly, the hierarchy, as well as the politics. So thanks for watching, and see you in the next one. So send me your comments and questions, and each week you'll get a chance to win a copy of one of my books. Your choice, either my book on presentation skills or business writing skills.